everyone. Welcome to the latest edition of the Power Within podcast, the podcast that is on inspiring people with inspiring stories. My name is Trevor Evers. I am your host. And this week we have a fantastic guest. Her name is Paula O Sullivan. Paula is based in Blessington, County Wicklow, and she's the author of 6 books, including the book Same Shit, Different Day. Paula is a hypnotist, a spiritual coach, a Reiki practitioner, a healer, a dowser, and much more. Paula, it's great to have you on the show. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks so much.
You're very welcome. And you're a woman of many talents, as I just went through what you do. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Okay, I'll just tell you about the hypnotherapy part of it. I have a bit of a story that might be of interest to your listeners, people watching this. Back in 2009, I had a catalyst happen to me. It was I just developed symptoms of MS and lupus, and they couldn't quite decide. After loads and loads of tests, they couldn't quite decide which one it was, you know. And my blood stopped clotting properly at the time as well, and I couldn't get a lumbar puncture. So I had this crazy time in the middle of all of this craziness and pain and everything like that. No answers coming, lots of tests and everything like that. I had a crazy idea in my mind, one of these intuitive prompts, I suppose. And it was like, you're somehow creating this yourself, you know? And it was one of those people who had a lot of guilt trips going on in my mind already. And I just didn't need another one, you know? But I decided I'd go and pick up a few books and read. So I read about stress. And then I read a book called You Can Heal Your Life. And between the two of them, I went, oh, maybe I am actually creating these symptoms somehow. And I didn't like that responsibility on me. But anyway, the long and the short of it, I got into self-hypnosis at the time because of reading those 2 books. And I used to go down to our local library here. And there's a hypnotist in England, in UK, Glenn Harrod, his name is, and he had CDs out, overcoming stress and, you know, things about success and stuff. And you could borrow these from the library. So I borrowed them. And I used to get up at 6 a.m. and listen to the self-hypnosis CDs every morning and then every evening before I went to bed. And I discovered that we're highly hypnotic at those times. They were the best times to be putting suggestions of health into our mind, you know?
Sure.
So anyway, I actually managed, within 3 months, and I was amazed, I astounded myself, with the self-hypnosis, without any training in hypnosis or at that time, I actually cleared all those symptoms. Now, it took about 8 months for the blood to go back to normal, but within 8 months, everything had disappeared, you know. But after the 3 months, I said, well, what else could I do? You know, at the time, I'd been suffering with depression. I wasn't what you'd call awake as I am now. I had no knowledge of, you know, how you could help yourself. So I went in and started working with underlying depression, anxiety, fears. I had no self-esteem. I had very little confidence. I was so caught up in the anxiety of what other people thought about me, all those kind of things. And I got in and I systematically started working on all of them. And then 2 years later, I actually I got into a position where I could actually train as a clinical hypnotherapist. And that was wonderful. By the time I got in, I had a good knowledge of how, you know, things work. And then I did the official training. So things got just onwards and upwards from there. It was just an amazing journey, you know. And I went on and I trained as a coach then in 2017. And obviously in between that, I did Reiki training as well. I started writing books as well around 2013. So my whole life literally started with the self-hypnosis first and then training as a hypnotherapist. It completely changed my life. I'll say I've delved into many things. I've read books on NLP and, you know, every time I pick up a book, I'll use it in my own life and around myself and my family to try and help us, you know.
Sure. It's a great way to get into the benefits of hypnosis and hypnotherapy, to actually use these techniques yourself in your own life and get the benefits from them yourself. Because once you do that, it's a great platform then for helping other people. Because
you've greater empathy, haven't you? When you've done it on yourself, you've greater empathy that you have to help somebody else. You know how it works, and you know you can see what's after happening yourself. So it gives you greater confidence in the work you're doing as well when you do it on yourself first, you know.
Absolutely, and it shows our clients as well that your clients, that you're walking the walk and talking the talk as well.
Yeah.
And Paula, then you went on then to write a book, author a book. Can you tell us a little bit about the book as well,
Well,
how
I've
that
got
came about?
I have 6 books
Oh,
out at the
6
moment,
books.
but
Oh, brilliant.
but the one I think might be of most interest to anyone is I wrote it. It's called Same Shit, Different Day, and it's breaking the patterns that make us miserable. And it's a metaphysical approach to well-being. And it's available on Amazon and all those ebook stores as well. And I have it here in the Blessington tourist office here in Blessington. And I sell it. I do craft fairs as well. I'm an artist as well. And in Kilteal Market here in County Kildare now, I would have it on my stall once a month as well, you know. So that was my therapy book. People were out after my first book. I had wrote a series of essays. I'll just briefly show you. My first book here was this one, and it was different perspectives for a different world, essays for life. And I went and revised it then in 2017.
Brilliant.
But I had written a little series of essays, of philosophical essays of my journey from the time of not being a writer to becoming a writer to getting better. And then people were asking me, well, you know, how exactly did you get yourself better, you know? So I decided when I wrote Same Shit, Different Day, I decided I would catalogue different things I had used, you know, from my hypnotherapy journey, learning about the power of our thoughts, how there were 2 different ways of thinking. One way was definitely going to keep you in illness, keep you stuck, keep you in poverty. The other way was going to bring you forward, all that kind of thing. I talk about the subconscious mind in there. I talk about some energy work in there as well. I cover areas like self-esteem, relationship, emotional intelligence, all the different things I learned, you know, to help myself, because it's been quite a journey. I would have suffered a lot of early childhood abuse, emotional abuse, mental, all sorts of abuse. And that would have carried with me a sense of low self-worth, you know. And when you've got the energy of low self-worth, you can end up having guilt complexes and stuff. And when you have a guilt complex or a doubt complex in yourself, you start actually attracting people to you that will reinforce it, and they kind of mirror it back to you. And you end up believing that there's something wrong with you. So like there's a whole system of working with that. So I went into all of this in depth with myself first, because I was the best one to work on at the time, you know. So as I moved through these different stages of being able to use self-hypnosis on these, and then I got into energy healing, and I found another way of being able to work with this stuff, that because it's very difficult when you're trying to go into trauma, childhood trauma, you're bringing up a lot of pain, and sometimes you get stuck with that and you don't quite know how to get rid of that. And that it becomes a loop, you know, and it just destroys you. So I found with the energy healing, then I was able to get out of that further by using dowsing. I was able to clear some of these energies without going into the pain. Because I think when we've had some kind of abuse, if we've suffered enough, we've already suffered with the original experiences. And then through the rest of our adult lives, we're bringing this experience over and over. And then people are mirroring back to us what we're holding within us, because we hold a resonance within us of abuse. So we have a desire, if we've guilt or a desire to be punished in us, or a desire to suffer, which we're not aware of, people are going to mirror that back to us. And I found like I was bullied a lot, and I used to say to myself, why am I being bullied so much? Why am I attracting all this stuff? It was because when I started doing the energy work, I discovered there was a resonance of this within me from early childhood. So when you start moving these energies around, you start attracting different people. Your energy rises. You rise to a different vibration and frequency, and you actually start the mirror within you now, because you don't have the resonance of these abusive energies. You start actually attracting different people to you in different situations. So I've had quite a fascinating journey with all of this. So in 2019, I've learned so much. I'm always learning. So that's the knowledge I had. I will have to update this book, because there's so much more I'm after learning that I could add to this book now. But it's a great place to start if you want to learn about, you know, how your thoughts create things in your own life, you know, and how you can work with your emotions to become more balanced and create the kind of life you want and draw the people into your life that you want to. That would be, that's why I recommend that book for anyone who wants that kind of work, to do that, you know. Not so much of
Sure.
I haven't much of the dowsing in there. I'd only just began with the dowsing at that stage, you know. So I would say I will have to update. I've had some fascinating experiences with dowsing since, you know.
So it's definitely up the whole philosophy that you have, that we are the creators of our own reality, and we're responsible for who we attract into our lives, right?
Yeah,
Because,
very much so.
Historically speaking, I mean, we've all done it and played the victim of why, poor me, I keep attracting the wrong people into our lives. And it takes a lot of courage to look at yourself in the mirror and take ownership of that, right?
Yeah. Now, sometimes it's not our fault, and I'm never for one for blaming. We need to accept responsibility for the part we play. But say you had a horrible childhood or something, you've set a pattern there, a script, and there's a resonance, and you're broadcasting messages from you to abuse you, even though you don't want to be abused. It's kind of perverse when you go into the work and you say, well, why would my subconscious mind draw this back to me? But it's an opportunity. I look at it as an opportunity to heal. So when we change things, we do change. But just about thoughts creating reality, people go, yeah. But if you look around you, like the chair you're sitting in, somebody sat one night, maybe at 3 o'clock in the morning, and thought about this wonderful, comfortable chair, and then if they hadn't gone anywhere with that thought, if they hadn't put it down on a piece of paper, they probably did a little sketch of it or something in the middle of the night. And then the next day they went and said, well, how could I make that chair a reality? Well, that chair became a reality because someone thought about it. But the room you're sitting in now, and people go, yeah, well, that's fair enough. And, the car you drive and the computer and your phone, that's fair enough. But people don't realize the power of this where our relationships are concerned as well. Somewhere along the line, we chose to be with the people we're with, and sometimes that's a great thing. And sometimes we find at some stage it's got pretty dysfunctional, But we had a thought in there that this person was going to serve a need of ours somewhere. And that's probably sounds a bit cold, but a lot of us are kind of drawn to the people who give us what we need. And when it gets dysfunctional, that's mirroring again back to us something that needs to be healed in us. And when we start healing those energies in ourselves, like an abused person needs someone to abuse them. And that's what I found. I was abused, but I needed someone to keep punishing me because I had a deep belief in myself that there was something wrong with me from my early experiences. But I also discovered that these energies can come in through genetics as well, epigenetics. While you're in the womb, you can pick up on your mother's emotions and her traumas and shocks and everything like that, and her lack of self-worth. And then, so it can pass in through the family. And then as I've gone in through past life issues as well. You can inherit stuff through past life. It doesn't leave the subconscious mind, seems to carry these energies in as well. And there's been a couple of people, Dolores Cannon, probably one of the more famous hypnotherapists, who went into that area. And not all hypnotherapists are interested in that area, but she had some quite fascinating studies on those type of things as well, where past lives would actually affect this life. The subconscious mind doesn't seem to think in terms of it was then 20, 30, 40,000 years ago, maybe, or 3 years ago. It doesn't. Subconscious is always in the now. So if we realize when we're working with even childhood traumas, it's actually the subconscious mind actually thinks that's happening now. And even with post-traumatic stress disorder, I had an instance of that. I had a car crash in 2016, and I noticed my mind kept wanting to bring back the scene, and I said, if we keep doing this, I'll definitely never get into the car again, So I made up a whole, I have it in my book, Same Shit, Different Day. I called it the Dancing Hippos, and I made up a whole scene, and it's kind of based on some NLP stuff as well, and mind movies that I practiced as well. So I had a little, I would slow it down. Every time the car would come at me, I said, this is ridiculous. The only thing that didn't hit me in my mind was Ronald McDonald on his bicycle. So I started making a joke out of it, because your mind will keep bringing, when you have a traumatic experience, your mind will keep bringing repeats of it. It just keeps bringing it back at you and frightening you even more. And then it's not bad that you survived it. You want to think, oh, it could have been worse. So your mind goes off down a little trail there where something could have been worse as well, So I made up a thing for myself to stop that happening. So I started saying, well, okay, instead of a car hitting me, now it's turned into marshmallow. And then I would freeze frame it and turn it around and then play Benny Hill music in my mind. And then I'd bring up dancing hippos in tutus, stupid stuff, really stupid stuff. But just, it was to break the pattern of what my mind was trying to do, was keep me in a trauma state. So there's loads of stuff you can do to stop all this taking a hold of you. And you can use it in many different ways, So I would use a mind movie, and I mentioned that in my book as well. And we did it in hypnotherapy as well. You'd go into a movie theater and imagine your life, a freeze frame of your life as it is at the moment, and you'd imagine how you'd like it to be. So you'd press play and you'd let it go forward, and you'd start acting the part, feeling the feelings you'd like to feel, seeing what you'd like to see, hearing what you'd like to see. And that's how I became a hypnotherapist at the start. I started doing that back after my illness back in 2009. I started playing mind movies in my mind. And I would see myself there with the cap and gown and my diploma as a hypnotherapist, because I knew after I got myself better that that's what I wanted to be initially.
Great.
And I'd be going up the mountain, I had this visualization, going up the mountain. At the top, I've got my cert in my hand, and do you know what I mean? And I'm going to be seeing these great clients, and I'm going to be helping people, So like I would use a lot of that, So yeah, our thoughts are so powerful. We just don't realize, and they literally affect everything like that. Our relationships, our work, the things we do when we're not working, how we feel about things. All thoughts, everything's thoughts, and everything are energy as well. So when you realize that, you can change. Energy can't be destroyed, but you can change it, you can transform it, So the subconscious mind and the power of our thoughts, all of that, and the energy, I found there was a nice blending. That's what I have now. It's a nice blending between all I've done previously and what I'm doing now with all of this,
It's fantastic that you made that change first in your life. And congratulations on that. Because
thank you.
I know it's not an easy thing to do, because we are hardwired, aren't we?
Yes.
in a way that can attract these things into our lives, and it takes that courage to be able to look at yourself, and that self-awareness to go, how can I change this into a positive? What role do I play here in this process? And you've done that, and that was a great thing to do. And that obviously that resulted in 6 books. 6 books is amazing.
And I never sat down to write a book either. Initially, I separated from my husband after the illness. We were together 17 years, and it wasn't a great relationship, but it was mirroring back where I was, and that was okay. I learned a lot from it. But at the time I left the marriage, I hadn't even got an original thought in my own mind. And I couldn't have even told you. If someone asked me an opinion, I couldn't have given you my original opinion. It was either going to be my ex-husband's opinion or my family's opinion. I didn't know how to think for myself. So originally I realized, I was going to have to start learning to think for myself and take responsibility for my life. Someone once said on a course, when did you grow up? Most people were saying 18 and that. And I said, well, I was 44 because, I was kind of, I hadn't quite grown up till I was 44 and take responsibility for my own thoughts and actions and things, and they thought that was very funny. But I started writing out a sentence a day. What did I think about the weather? What did I think about things that were happening around? And that was really difficult for me to do at the time. And then it spread into a paragraph a day. And I started reading all these motivational quotes. And that was brilliant. If you're ever feeling depressed or anxious, go and look up on Google or something for some motivational quotes. And there's nothing like it. If you read a couple of them a day, it lifts you. And you start thinking more philosophically. So I started picking out a quote and then say, well, what do I think about that? And I found I'd start writing a little page then based on the quote. I started thinking for myself and looking for philosophical stuff. And before I knew it, I had about 90 of these. And someone said, well, why don't you put them together in a book? I hadn't a clue. But I learned, and the first one I gave out to somebody, to a printer company, and they did it for me. And then the second one, I started formatting it myself, watching YouTube videos, reading how do you write a book, how do you put things together. And this looks easy, but it's not. I'm not very technical. And, I would forget if I'm not doing it all the time. I forget. I have to go back and nearly start at the beginning again. That's just, I process information. It takes me about 3 times longer than anyone else to process stuff. So I've had kind of a difficult life with learning stuff. I left school at 15 and I felt kind of stupid for a long, long time, But I've learned how to go in now and format books myself and spell. I'm not great with spelling either. spell check is great on Word and that, you know. So that's why, yeah, I put them together. But I never intend to put a book. I write a lot of stuff, and then I'll sit down when I say, right, it's time for the book now, and I'll design the cover, and I'll sit down and I'll put an hour in every day, and I'll dedicate myself, and I'll bring all the stuff together and edit it and make sure it's coherent and everything. So that's how I put my books together, you know. So it's fun, and I'm amazed that I got that much done so far. I'm working on another two now. The work I'm doing now, I think I'll put that into a book. I think that'll be very helpful for people now as well. Work with the energy work I'm doing, you know.
Absolutely. And that takes a lot of commitment to write even one book. I mean, to write 6 books is amazing. So well done. Well done, you. And I have to admit, I haven't read any of them, but I'm definitely will order that that one that you just showed. Was it?
Yeah, the same shit, different day
books.
Same shit, different day.
Brilliant.
And they say breaking the patterns that make us miserable, and it's metaphysical approach to well-being. So I've included all sorts of stuff in there, but it's available now as an ebook as well on Amazon. If people are, some people like the actual paper, but I like paper books, but some people just prefer using the ebooks.
Well, I'm old school myself, Paula. You wouldn't mind signing a copy for me, would you?
No problem at all.
But yeah, old school that way. I mean, look, I have a number of books on the Kindle or whatever on the tablet, but there's nothing like picking up a paperback or a hard copy book, a physical. I'm into the physical media.
Yeah, no, I love books. I read all the time. The side of my bed has about 5 books on it any one time. I'm dipping in and out of it. That's the way. I never just read one particular. Well, some books I will, but sometimes I'll read, you know, a couple of chapters out of one, and then I'll move on to the next one, you know. And I always try and incorporate whatever I've learned from these books. I always bring it in. Now the next day I'll come in and say, right, let's work on this. Let's see if I can create a session for myself based on what I'm after learning from this particular book. You know, so that's what I'm working on. I'm working with a lot of wounded inner child energies at the moment. So I was reading several different books on that, pulling information from them, and then creating a session where I can use my dowsing to heal some of those issues for people. So that's actually been working out quite well.
Right. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about dowsing? You know, like some of our listeners might be familiar with what that is and how that works.
Well, most people would think of dowsing to do with, you know, finding water or stuff like that, geopathic stress, that kind of thing. But I've gone into healing dowsing. And my first connection with dowsing was in 2018. I had hurt my foot, my left foot. Though I didn't injure it, it just started really hurting me badly. And then the ankle went funny, and I was having problems. I walk every day. I was having problems walking with it. And I say I was doing self-hypnosis. I was doing the control room for pain. I was doing, you know, all this bringing down pain level. Nothing was working for it, you know. And I finally went, I said, I better go see someone for this. So I went to a podiatrist, and you know, it was like the Spanish Inquisition. They were pulling the toes, and it was horrific. No, it really was. I was in much worse pain. And they were saying, well, we can't fix it just yet, but it'll take several weeks of this. And I went through 2 or 3 sessions, and the mascara was running down my face because there was tears. Actually, the pain was horrific. I said, I'm not going to be able to do this, you know. Yeah. Well, there's one thing about being in pain, but going to get something done and you're in worse pain. And I was I don't know, I was watching a movie that night, and Emotion, it was called, and it was a documentary, and different healers were on talking about how emotions got trapped and could cause pain in your body. It was one of these synchronistic events, you know. So there was a guy on called Dr. Bradley Nelson, and he was doing the emotion code. So I ordered his book, and it came out within 2 days, which was amazing because normally a book would have taken me longer from where I was ordering. So I read the book in 2 days, and I started using his technique of removing trapped emotions from the body. And he said you could use magnets, or you could use, there was a meridian that goes from the bridge of your nose right back down to the, you know, the middle of your back, but that you could use this like a magnetic strip, and you could use that to actually work with your subconscious to clear trapped energies. So I thought, well, I'll give it a go, you know, because I was in pain and I didn't know if it was going to work. But anyway, I started clearing emotions just using my hand instead of magnets, because it's like a magnetic strip on a bank card. It stores information. You know that magnetic strip on the back of your debit card or whatever?
Yeah.
This meridian here apparently stores information in a similar way for the body, and it's connected with your subconscious mind. So when you've got traumatic energies or trapped energies, that area there you can clear. Anyway, I gave it a go. The pain went. I have not had any bother with that foot ever since. Never had to go back to the podiatrist or
Wow.
anything. So that started me every
Fantastic.
day. I went through copybooks. I just picked out a copybook, said, let's start clearing. And at the time, it was you could only clear one at a time, you know. But about a year, I kept doing it every day for myself, my family, and we cleared many, many different things doing that. And then I connected with a woman in America, and she was looking for someone. She was training in emotion code, and she wanted someone to be a client for her. So I said, I will do, but I'll also work on you because I want practice with this. Even though I'm not going to train in it, I want practice because I've been practicing on myself for years on my sons. And she said, fair enough. So we set up a friendship, and we've been clearing for ourselves every week ever since. And we've cleared amazing stuff for each other doing that, you know. So there was an app, then the body code came out. So I started using that. And then just earlier on, last year, I started using a pendulum then instead of using the magnetic strip to clear stuff like that, you know. And then this year I got into exorcisms with it. So I started clearing ghosts and different spirits from people's homes, poltergeists, that kind of stuff, using dowsing. And I cleared many different health issues in that, you know, lots of different things I've been able to do with that. So it's been quite a fascinating journey. And I'll just show you briefly. I have a pendulum. I use a pendulum for this. And you can use your body. So a pendulum is just a thing on a piece of string, but you know, you can get a yes or no answer and connect with your subconscious with this. So you can get a yes or no answer with this, you know. And I'm using that, and I discovered with the emotion code, you can use your body. Your body will sway towards truth. So if you're not going to do it now, right? If you were to stand up later and say, my name is Trevor, you're going to actually find you might actually swing forward. And if you were to say, my name is Bill, you'll find your body might actually sway backwards as a no. So there's a natural intelligence with your subconscious that you can use. It's like applied kinesiology. It's like what they do with the muscle testing when your muscle goes weak or strong. It's the same thing. And it's linked in with your subconscious. So you can do quite a lot with this. So it's quite fun. I really enjoyed now going into the dowsing aspect of it. And I say with the exorcisms, you can clear, not everyone is possessed like with demons, but I found that energies, and I know this is woo-woo for a lot of people, but I found that some energies can attach to you and can affect your health or affect your mental well-being. And that when you clear these energies, and I do it from a distance, when you clear these energies from a person, things change for them. So, and I'd done it on myself. I found an energy that was attached from a friend who had passed on. I'd started developing minor ailments like they had, never felt they'd fully grieved or gone over. They always felt like they were with me, but I was losing the joy inside of me, and they suffered with serious depression, you know. And when I found this work earlier on this year, and I checked, and I said, oh, well, they have attached to me. They didn't actually cross over properly. So when I helped them cross over properly, I started feeling myself coming back into my full joy. Now, so I'm always working against depressive feelings anyway. I would always be working towards joy and positive feelings, and wouldn't consider myself to be depressed nowadays because I've done so much work. But there was something there not quite right with me since they'd passed several years ago, you know. So when I cleared the energies, it was like immediate. It was like a weight taken off me. And I've done quite a lot of work with now clients now and family as well on these things. And they've all noticed a change in them after we do this work. So I'm not out there trying to prove anything. It's just, does it help? Does it work? You know, so I just keep trying it anyway. I just love this one.
Is there a way that as a hypnotherapist, I can protect myself from, say, energies, that even from some clients that they can project and dump on me every so often?
A lot of my work. Sorry, go on.
Have you ever experienced that yourself?
Absolutely. When I was doing Reiki, I used to be taking people's pain. I'm a sensitive empath as well. You see, I'm very sensitive and I pick up energies really quickly. But I used to find that sometimes I would feel the actual pain a person would be feeling, or like that. When a client would come in for hypnotherapy, I would feel what they were going on very deeply. I would feel what was going on, which was good in a way because I was able to help them that way. But then you'd come away and not feel so good, you know. I just set up, it's very simple. I just put a white light pyramid of protection around me, and I ground my energy. Some people ground into the earth. I know this is woo-woo for some people, to ground into the earth or into a light grid or something like that. But the only real protection, and I'm going to tell you this because I've done massive work with this, the only real protection for this is to find where the resonance within you is similar to the person. Okay, because if you've got a similar resonance of an energy within you to that person that's coming to see you, which you probably will, that's why you've drawn them to you, there's a good chance you can take on their energies. So by clearing these energies within yourself, what we'll say is heal or heal thyself. The more you work on yourself to clear these underlying energies that are within you, you'll still have your empathy, but you won't take on other people's stuff or draw their energies to you as much. That, to me, is the ultimate protection. And I've done massive work with this. With, people will send some really nasty energies. They'll be jealous that you're doing yourself, they could be jealous that you're doing a podcast or something, or that you're doing well in your business, or if you're doing creative endeavors. People do, because they haven't got there themselves, they will send energies towards a person. And if you're sensitive, that might manifest as a pain in your back or something. You don't know. So a lot of the energies I clear, like it could be saboteur energies or curses, or, I cleared curses from, grandparents as well. Some people, they carry them through the family line, and some homes can be cursed and lands can be cursed as well, where someone didn't want someone to build on it. Yeah. Amazing. So I've done a lot of this, but just back to the protection, I protect my energy every single day, but the real protection is work on yourself and remove those energies of resonances, of low self-esteem, of wondering what other people are concerned, what might they think of me, or, if you've devaluation energies within you, try and clear them as best you can, and that's your best protection. But I always put up a white light pyramid of protection around me. But sometimes even just that, and after a session, I would say, I'm disconnecting my energy from this person, because you'll find after a session, if your thoughts are still with that person, there's like energy streamers, and see, thoughts are energy. You're still connected with they're either thinking about you or you're thinking about them. If you just imagine cutting those cords between you, and I send healing to them. I send healing to myself, but I cut my cords, and then the energy, the intrusive thoughts stop. Because most people don't know about intrusive thoughts. If you keep getting thoughts in and in and in into your head with somebody, it's an incessant or it's obsessive, that particular person or situation has your energy. Now, I mentioned that in the book, Same Shit, Different Day, as well, how to do that. You call back your scattered energy and you give them back their energy. And with a blessing, you don't want to send anything bad back to somebody. That's the energy work I do. But you protect your energy, you protect their energy, and you disconnect the energy between you. You'll find the obsessive thoughts stop. Not saying that you got that, but just somebody listening might have that kind of thing going on for them.
Sure.
Because we don't realize how we're connecting with people all the time.
Yeah, I have the mindset when I'm seeing my clients that I'm putting myself into a zone of a high vibrational state. And so pulling them up to me rather than being pulled down to their vibration.
Yes.
So that's what I focus on, to set the kind of vibrational tone of my sessions and of my programs. And that people tend to be attracted towards that rather than, if it wasn't in that mindset, it can be easy to get pulled in and dragged into people's shit, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, but then they're not going to go away feeling better if you're like that. They need to come up. You need to be higher than them. A therapist always has to be higher than their clients. That's why we must work on ourselves.
Absolutely true.
To make sure we're just, and not that we're better than, we're just a little bit higher vibrationally. And then they feel better when they leave us then. And that's the object of it, isn't it? You don't want them going out feeling worse. But we don't want to feel worse either.
Exactly. So it's a great feeling when you're vibrating at that high energy kind of feeling. Then it's contagious, isn't it? It
is, yeah.
It rubs off to our clients, which is what we want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what you're at the moment, what your focus is on, and what your plans are? in
Plans
life?
are, well, 2 more books at least. I have
Wow,
possibly 3, but I'm always dipping in and out. So I have the 3 books. Well, I'd say 2 for now, but there's another one coming along as well. I'm continuing my studies with dowsing. I'm finding this absolutely fascinating. Just the people don't realize about energy and how energies, when they attach or influence us, can really bring us down, can switch us off from our purpose. And when clearing these energies, it changes everything. So I'm going more in studying that. I'm in studying that all the time, just going in deeper and deeper and down the rabbit hole into that at the moment. So there are my plans at the moment. So
great
continue on
stuff.
with the dowsing and healing.
Great stuff. And is there any parting words of wisdom you would like to share with our listeners here before you say goodbye today?
Life is short, live it and enjoy. And I hope everyone here is, they're passionate about what they're doing, because, when you have this one life at a time, and just to be passionate, I decided many years ago to just, my first childhood was awful. So I decided I would have a second childhood, and that I could do and be anything I wanted if I really wanted to do it. So I would say that to you: go and do and be what you want to be. If you really, really want to do something, just go and do that and find a way to do it, even if you can only do it in part-time hours. And then you'll feel alive. And when you feel alive, everything changes. Everything changes. All the people around you will change. So that's my best words of wisdom for today. Be yourself
Absolutely.
and
And
enjoy it. Yeah.
brilliant stuff. Great stuff. It's like the throwing a pebble in a pond, isn't it? It's a ripple effect that
Absolutely.
once you change yourself, then everything
Yes.
changes, all changes around you.
Everything does. And then it becomes a very exciting adventure indeed.
It does. And I'm on a similar adventure with this podcast as you are
Yes.
with your books. And this podcast has evolved, and we're up to a dozen episodes now, which is
It's
fantastic.
fantastic.
And I would have never have thought when I started that I would get up to number 12, but where we are,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
speaking to such great guests like yourself. And
Thank you.
I've been listening to you and just fascinated with this information, really. And it's a great change of pace for the podcast to talk about something a little bit different, topics, folks, like, healing, dowsing. And so that's the thing, isn't it? It's share, you're sharing yourself and your life with people. And I think
Yeah.
that's a good thing, because if you're not, you're kind of only being kind of putting up a front, or you're,
Yeah, and that's what
you
we've done from childhood. If we weren't
know,
accepted, and I wasn't accepted for who I was as a child, so I had to become somebody else for them to love me, and they didn't love me even when I became to someone else. So that messed me right up. So you go through life then trying to pretend to be something that you're not, and then the lie is inside of you. The kinesiology, like that lie is making you weak. So when you become out vulnerable and start sharing your real self and not really caring what other people think, you become stronger inside. Your body actually becomes stronger. Your whole nervous system becomes stronger. You're not telling a lie, and you don't care. When you get to the point, and it took me a while to get there, you get to the point you don't give a damn what anybody thinks. That is just so empowering. And it's like, I don't care anymore whether someone likes me or they find me attractive, or, do you know what I mean? I just don't care anymore. And it's just so liberating.
it
I have
is.
to say, this is the happiest place I've ever been in my whole life, because I don't have to pretend to be anybody I'm not, you know? And I gone
Absolutely.
at the start of it, when I was started as a hypnotherapist, I had to be something, I had to be professional like that. I put myself in a nice little box there, but the box was so confining. But now
Yeah,
I'm just real, and like me or not, I don't care, but the people who like you will be just drawn to your authenticity. So just be real is what I'd say. There's too
that's
many
right.
fake people. And you know what it is? People like me know who's fake. I'm a sensitive empath. I know who's telling lies. I know who's fake. It's like I've got this bullshit alert going on, and I can just tell, I can see right through, you see, and as many people can. They may not realize, but on some level, they're aware when you're not being truthful or not being your true self. I think we need more real people in this area of things, definitely.
Absolutely.
Like,
So hopefully I come across as real to you. I
very
give
much
off that
so.
energy.
Very much so.
But I've changed it a little bit. I mean, like when I was doing before videos for my business, it was very much where I get that hypnotherapist hat put on me and go all official going, welcome to whatever hypnosis. You know, it's like it was a different persona. Whereas the latest videos then I've been doing over the summer were more just
you're more relaxed,
more relaxed and formal chat, that I'm just
Yeah.
talking to you here, having a coffee. By me pushing myself out of my comfort zone and just going and doing something and walking through that fear, then I'd like to hope think that it will inspire others to do the same. Not necessarily doing a podcast, but maybe there's something that they would like to do in their lives. Different goals that they're procrastinating on, or, you know, putting on the long finger going, well, look, I'll do it tomorrow. And there is no tomorrow. Like, that's what I've been saying. Do it now, get them scheduled in, go. It's amazing what we are capable of if we kind of push through that self-critical voice that we have. There's worse ways to spend your time than spend an hour with someone like yourself, or if you look back over the great guests that I've had on the podcast, you're only going to learn, like you're only going to get benefits from doing that.
It fires you up, doesn't it? That's what I find talking to other people who are doing things, and you go, oh, look at them excited there. He's after setting up a podcast. That's wonderful. Okay, I'm going to do something else myself now. That fires me up then. It makes me want to do something, you know.
It does.
Just what you're saying about, you know, that push-pull of one day you're feeling grand, then you put all this effort in, and then you go on and nobody likes it, and then you're feeling devalued, you know. And it's like that roller coaster ride, you know. What I found in at the back of that, some devaluation energies, you know, from childhood or something like that I didn't even know about, you know, trapped in my subconscious. And when you're put under pressure, they snap up again. Do you know what I mean? So when you go in and remove them, then you see that doesn't keep happening. It's like when I cleared this only a few weeks ago, because I had that push-pull thing going, and then I went off Facebook altogether. So what's the point, you know? Came back on and I went back in, and then I found some more childhood, undisciplined child energies, inner wound childs, you know, all different sort of things, and the devaluation, which was a big thing for me through my life. And I went in and cleared it, and then suddenly it's like I don't give a damn. Do you know? It's like suddenly I don't care. It's like everything shifted for me. It's like I'm just going to do this anyway, and I don't care if no one's watching. Do you know what I mean? It just shifted everything for me.
You know, it's about sharing yourself and your own authentic self, your own personality with the world.
I think this is wonderful that you're doing this. This is fantastic. You know, for anyone else out there as well, that's going to help so many people, because people don't talk about these things. They want to just put up the polished person, the perfect person, you know. If you're there talking about challenges and stuff that you've overcome, and I think that's wonderful that you're doing that, you know. We're all out there just trying to make the world a better place, aren't we? You know, we're trying to make people happier and better off, and ourselves too, and our families, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think that's wonderful.
But it does start with ourselves, doesn't it? It does.
It has to.
Charity begins at home.
It does.
So on that note, we leave it at that. Paula, thanks very much. And
listen, thanks a million.
And I want to thank you very much for taking the time to come on and share your wonderful self with our listeners. I really appreciate it, Paula.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity as well.
You're very welcome.
I wish you very best with your podcast now. Onwards and upwards. Take care. Best of luck with everything.
See you, Paula. Take care. Thanks very much.
Then. Thank you. Bye now. Bye.
Okay, folks, it's that time again to say goodbye. This is the Power Within podcast. And until next time, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and we'll see you on the next podcast. See you, folks.